Somewhere around 70,000 or so people die each and every year from an opioid-related overdose. Back in the early 2000s, the culprit was oxycodone, an opioid that most would probably recognize under the name of OxyContin. But in 2013 or so, it was fentanyl that overtook both OxyContin and heroin on the center stage in the opioid epidemic. As for who's to blame, well, it's a combination of things. You have pharmaceutical greed and malpractice, you have healthcare providers that are over and misprescribing their patients, and then you have a flood of illicitly produced fentanyl coming from China, Mexico, and India. All of those factors were working together to create the current fentanyl crisis.
Yeah, worst case here, and I go talk about something serious, something that happened at my work today. You know, I'm off the clock now for an hour or so, but I feel like I need to have to talk about this because what happened today was unacceptable, and I feel like I need to speak about it. So here we go. And I'll go in and out of these videos and different little graphs and stuff to have this conversation. I hope you enjoy.
These days, fentanyl is being disguised as legitimate medications and then being smuggled into the United States and many other countries. Some may think they're getting Xanax or Adderall, but instead are getting a high dose of fentanyl, considering fentanyl is around 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine, and oftentimes only 2 milligrams of fentanyl is enough to deliver a fatal dose. Dependence and accidental overdoses are skyrocketing. In today's video, we're going to discuss the legitimate uses for fentanyl and what happens to the body when it's consumed. We'll see why withdrawals are so brutally difficult to overcome and why overdosing is such an easy thing to do. It's going to be an important one.
Yeah, I guess we gotta get to that. Like I haven't watched enough ads, you skip
Let's do this.
So we're gonna skip here.
Dose on fentanyl.
We're gonna pause there. All right. So, you know, just give you a little story. I think I might as well start my story now. I don't know. So today at work, you know, I went out on patrol. You know, I'm not going to drop any names or specific details or anything like that. I'm going to kind of give it to you randomly, right? But, you know, I was working at a hotel, and I don't work at hotels that are nice. You know what I mean? Like I work at hotels that need some protection, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm working at this place, and basically, you know, I have to say, I went on patrol, you know, then I had people screaming, "Oh, someone overdosed." I was like, okay, well, did you call the fire department? They're like, "Yeah, we called them." Okay, great. You know, I called them anyways because they weren't even giving the correct information, right? So I was on the phone with fire as I'm making contact. I got one person doing CPR, and I don't want to do mouth to mouth on an individual that overdosed on fentanyl. I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but I really don't care. This is a serious issue that needs to be talked about. Okay? So I called fire, and they informed me that the person that called before did not inform them that the individual is not breathing. Right? And the first time they heard that's from me. So obviously they're going to come a lot faster than what was stated before. Okay, great. So again, one's doing chest compressions, the other one's doing mouth to mouth. And then another individual walks in and starts pouring ice water on her body. Why? Who knows? I told him to get out the room, continue with the chest compressions, right? That's what keeps the blood flowing to the heart and your brain, right? So then fire department gets there and goes in. I'll try to clear everybody out, and then someone else gets in the way. And then someone spats out, they're dead. Of course, the other individuals with that person decided to try to run in there, freaking out, thinking the other person's dead, and gets into physical contact with the fire department. It was that dude that's going to slow them down from doing their job, making sure someone's alive. But long story short, I'm going to try to keep nipping in the bud, you know what I mean? Like when I was there, I could already visually see that this individual seems to already have been passed away. You know, I can see rigor mortis setting in. It's kind of the body stiffening and there's no breath. Like they're gone. Like, I don't want to say that to the people that are around trying to save their life. But, you know, I've been through this so many times, I had to say something. So, going to have to say, like, yeah, so they get in a confrontation, you know, with the fire department. I had to call PD because now you just assaulted a fireman trying to do their job. If they want, the fireman wants to press charges or not, that's up to them. Who knows? Who cares? You know, they put her on the stretcher, get her out. Oh, the fire department takes off with that individual. And only one fireman stays behind so I can get, you know, the report information, stuff like that, and he's able to drive the engine away. Okay. You know, PD shows up, they're talking to the individual. I guess nobody pressed charges because they just let him walk, which is fine. And not to mention, there's also a child in that room. And the child had a blanket over their head, you know, until they removed the blanket, and then someone said, "Come here," and the child ran out the door, and then up having one of the people working there take that child to the lobby area so they don't disappear or something happens to the child. You know, keep the child safe, right? And it was, I'll try to make this as short as possible, but that individual ended up calling back, stating that our individual was already brain dead by the time they went to the hospital. And this hurts pretty deep because, like, there's a child involved, right? So that child now has no mother. Oh, because this little blue pill right here, right? And I've been doing this for a long time. All these other pills, like, you know, the rainbow fentanyl, whatever. I haven't seen that. All I've seen is these little blue pills that are meant to look like Percocets. You can see right here in the picture, right? It's got M on one side, 30 on the other. That's what's rampant here, right? But it's killing people right and left, and no one seems to be doing anything about it. You know, it's pretty sad. And now this child's growing up without a mother. You know, that hit pretty deep. And the thing is like that father known his wife had a drug problem, right? So why wouldn't you be attentive enough to know when the overdose is happening and be able to, you know, get help then and there, instead of waiting till the last minute to come out and scream at people saying she overdosed when she was already dead? You don't get that stiff not being dead. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fun. So there's a few things I want to go over with you, this guy. So, you know, As of the latest available data, drug overdose deaths in the U.S. remain alarmingly high, with fentanyl being a major contributor. Primary estimates suggest that roughly 18,000 lives were lost to drug overdoses in a 12-month period ending in late 2024. While this much significant decline from the peak of 114,664 deaths recorded in August of 2023, fentanyl-related fatalities continue to be a pressing issue. So, like, I don't know, man. And then, I've been doing this for so many years, and like I said, that's the pill to look out for, right? And most of the addicts, this is what they got to say. So pay attention closely. Well, that's about as full screen as it's going to get, I guess. So here we go.
What's the upside of this lifestyle?
I really fucking love drugs, so I get to be on them.
Tell me about living in Kensington.
I mean, all I want to do is drugs and die. So it's pretty perfect.
You think you have a death wish?
I do, but I don't, I guess.
Yeah.
As much sense as that makes.
Yeah, like if you really wanted to die, you just jump in front of a train.
Yeah, it's not that I want to die, like, I don't vehemently want to die, but I'm open to it,
You'd call yourself self-destructive?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And where do you think that comes from? Something in your childhood that happened, or something you
I don't
inherited?
know. I think I'm just...
So, that's the most of the drug addicts I talk to that have this fentanyl problem is, I don't care if I die. I don't want to die, but I don't care. They don't have no self-worth or goals in life or any ambition, any of that. It's just crazy to me. And then, so we're done with that. And let's see what Trump's got to say about this real quick. We'll put it in full screen for shorts.
They're very heavy on the fentanyl. We're charging them, as you know, 20% for the fact that they send fentanyl into our country. And they've agreed that they're going to stop that. And, they'll be rewarded by not having to pay, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs.
So you think if this is supply and demand, what makes you think a tariff is going to stop that demand? Like, it's not going to stop it. It's not enough. Definitely not enough. We're going to close that out. It's just crazy to me. Now we're going to go ahead and skip over to the overdose here. Here what he's got to say.
Extremely easy to overdose. If you recall me saying, opioids can actually have an effect on the respiration centers of the body. So in the brainstem, but also into an area called the hypothalamus. So you have to understand that right now, as you're breathing, your body is, monitoring everything, right? You have respiratory rhythms going to your diaphragm, coming from the brainstem, saying breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, right? Your brain is monitoring how much carbon dioxide is actually in your bloodstream. And so then when carbon dioxide starts to increase, it'll actually reflexively cause you to inhale oxygen or exhale the carbon dioxide and inhale oxygen. But if you're overdosing on an opioid, that can get so saturated by the opioids themselves that you can't overcome that. And so what'll happen is you will actually die from respiratory depression, right? You literally cannot breathe because the opioids have completely saturated those areas, right? The opioid receptors on those areas. And the only way out of that is with another opioid called naloxone. Also, sometimes people will call it Narcan. That's a brand of it. So what they'll do is by administering Narcan or naloxone, what'll happen is those will actually bind to those same receptors and prevent fentanyl, morphine, or any of the other opioids from getting there, and it will actually, so then what will happen is the person will come out of it. They'll be able to breathe again, and typically they'll go immediately into withdrawals. And
so I do have to say this while he's finishing up there. I've been told by the fire department that fentanyl could basically shut down any organ and random organs. So it's not just the breathing, to my knowledge. Like that may be one of the first days ago, maybe, but it's very random. It can shut down any organ, to my knowledge. It's very deadly and very serious, and people should take it that way. If you got a death wish, fentanyl's for you. If not, don't take that stuff.
That will make them very uncomfortable. You have to understand, withdrawals are, from what I hear, unbearable, right? I mean, from any opioid, right? This isn't just fentanyl exclusive, because when you're withdrawing from it, you have to understand that the nerves, right, that loss of pain, you get so used to it. It's not just the dopamine, right? It's not just the dopamine, the euphoria that you have to overcome the addiction on that end. It becomes excruciatingly painful because your neurons are used to not sending painful signals. And now all of a sudden, when there's no opioids to tell them not to send signals, any sensitization of those neurons, even if it's not painful. Think about this, right? If you're so used to not feeling pain, when that fully comes online, your shirt itself can become painful because the neurons are just not used to processing that pain.
And that's why they puke all over the place. Stay away from this drug, please. I'm done seeing people die.